So this is my second weekly message to the Diocese of Leicester during this time of the coronavirus pandemic. One of the things I've noticed this last week in particular has been a change in social media. I've never been a big one for engaging with Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all these things. I've only ever done it sporadically. But I've noticed a change this week on a number of different levels. One has been the fact that I've suddenly had a lot of friend requests from people all around the country, mainly people I don't know, but it would appear that there are people, some people at least, with time on their hands and wanting to connect. That's an interesting thing in itself. But I've also noticed a change for myself. Not only am I following social media much more closely at this moment in time, but I'm also, I think, changing the way I engage with it. It comes for me after a period when I had stepped back quite a bit from social media. I shared at a church service a couple of months ago that I was really struggling with it. I realized it was having an adverse effect on my mental health. I'd fallen into that trap of endlessly comparing myself to other people, looking for affirmation through the numbers of views or likes or positive comments. And so I decided to step back from it for a period. Interestingly, at that church service, there was someone else, a well-known public figure, who came to see me afterwards to say that he decided to do the same because he realized how unhappy it was making him. I saw him again a couple of months later and he commented how it had transformed his life, simply stepping back for a period from social media. But of course, at this moment in time, we need the connection. Social media comes into its own. So I've resolved instead to engage in a different way with social media. I've decided that I will only make positive comments. I will only say encouraging things to others. I will only be kind to others. I will step back from the arguments. That's my resolve, at least, during this period of Lent and during this period of enforced confinement. You may know that the Church of England a little while ago produced a social media charter. You can find it online. I would certainly recommend it. But there's another thing that I've noticed about social media, which is the way that as we flick through different posts on Facebook or Twitter, whatever it may be, we move very quickly from something which can be entirely trivial, family singing a song from Les Miserables, through to an interesting piece of news about the government or what's going on in the world, through to something which can be deeply disturbing and deeply poignant. That happened to me this week as I was flicking through social media and then came upon a story from India, how the announcement from the government of a shutdown in India had led to literally hundreds of thousands of people leaving the city of Delhi, many of them walking for hundreds of miles back to their home villages. For them, as day workers, the shutdown meant that they had no source of income and therefore no way even to buy food for themselves and their families. Their only choice was to go back to their home village in the hope that their families there would care for them. It's both the strength and also the difficulty of social media, is it not? It connects us with what's going on around the world. It puts our own lives in perspective. But it also has that discombobulating feeling of moving, as I say, from something trivial to something deeply profound. As we enter into the most significant week of the year, really, for Christians, the week of Holy Week, as we come towards Good Friday and then Easter, and as we remember the stories that are at the heart of Christian life, so we remember that the heart of that story is that God enters into our story, that all the trivia of our day-to-day lives suddenly gets mixed up in God's cosmic plan. We are connected with a bigger story in a way that would seem unimaginable. I've got with me my palm cross from last year. Sadly, we're not going to be able to give out palm crosses this year because we can't gather in the same way. But it may be that you have a cross in your home somewhere, and that you might want to just take that cross and take a minute or two to reflect on it. That God has entered into the human story. That God's love has been proved to us in the actions of Jesus Christ, entering into humanity, all the weaknesses and failings of humanity combines with the glorious perfection of God's love for all that God has made. This comes with my continued thanks for all you are doing to care for others, to pray for others, and my hope that this Holy Week will indeed be one when you experience again the love of God.